On March 21, 2025, the United States Commission on Civil Rights held a briefing in Washington, D.C. to examine the extent to which language barriers impact access to health care, legal system, and government services for individuals with limited English proficiency, LEP. The Commission has explored and will continue exploring how government agencies and other recipients of federal funding provide language access and consequences when adequate language access is not provided to LEP people. At this public briefing, the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights have heard reports from language access experts, linguistic researchers, federal and state government officials, community advocates, and impacted persons. The record of this meeting is available by link attached below this video. Today, 25.7 million, or 8% of people ages 5 and older living in the United States are limited English proficient LEP persons. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, Federal Law Title VI, Prohibition against National Origin Discrimination affecting limited English proficient LEP persons, protects them, ensuring equitable access to healthcare, legal system, government services, and federally funded programs. LEP patients face increased risks of medical errors, misdiagnosis, and poorer health outcomes if medical service provider deprives LEP person of possibility to use the service of highly qualified professional interpreter whom LEP person trusts and imposes on LEP person non-professional, low-qualified interpreter whom LEP person doesn't trust. As a rule, in Minnesota, these alleged interpreters do not have specific linguistic education, professional knowledge, university diplomas, or certificates of American Translators Association. However, these alleged interpreters pay $50 per year for the right to be on healthcare interpreter roster of Minnesota Department of Health and to fulfill the work of interpreter. According to Minnesota law number 144.058, in order to be placed on the roster, no diploma or certification of interpreter is required, and the roster law does not provide for any training, certification, or testing of interpreters. Biased medical providers prefer to impose on LEP persons such alleged interpreters from Minnesota Department of Health roster to be able to save money on their non-professional service. This is a direct violation of Federal Law Title VI, which gives the right to any LEP person to use professional interpreter of their choice whom LEP persons trust. The right to due process is a cornerstone of U.S. legal system, and language barriers directly undermine this fundamental right. When LEP individuals cannot understand legal proceedings, court documents, or communication with law enforcement, they are effectively denied equal justice under the law, and the courts are hamstrung and unable to deliver effective service to this subset of the people they serve. In Minnesota courts, LEP people are also often deprived of their right protected by Federal Law Title VI to use professional interpreter from professional interpreting community whom LEP persons trust. I, Yelena Kurdyumova, professional linguist with 2 master's degree, member of American Translators Association, the oldest in the USA, member of National Language Service Corps, founder and chief executive officer of International Interpreting, Translation and PR Services, LLC, took part virtually in the briefing of the United States Commission on Civil Rights in Washington, D.C. on the rights of LEP persons under Federal Law Title VI. In accordance with the recommendation of Joe Kim, Public Affairs Specialist of U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, I have been preparing the description of violations of Federal Law Title VI in medical offices and courts of Minnesota, which I witnessed. The materials will go to the Office of Civil Rights Evaluation, where civil rights analysts will review them. The Commission suggests that all witnesses of violation of Federal Law Title VI submit their written complaints by April 21, 2025. The email to which submit is listed below this video.